in far enough, and some of you are going to put it in too far. So what you're aiming for the MAC blade that's going to go into what we call the vallecula. The vallecula is the space between the epiglottis and the base of the tongue. So it's this space right here. The vallecula, it's V-A-L-L-E-C-U-L-A. So I'm going to put this here. That's where we want it to go. That's the vallecula. It's the spot between the epiglottis. Sharon's got back there too.
You can see it kind of also on the side view. This right here is the vallecula.
Oh, that looks like it.
Okay.
And that's for the mat.
From the side.
We've got a good close-up.
I know. So when we put this in, when I said I was just worried about lifting the tip, because when I lift the tip, I lift up the epiglottis out of the way, which is what I'm trying to do. So if this is like it is when it first goes in, and then you do this to lift it up so that you can see the vocal cords. So that's what you're aiming for there. The Miller blade, if it was in, is gonna go under or over the epiglottis, whatever you want to say. So the MAC blade moves it indirectly out of the way by lifting it up. This one is going to sit underneath it and just lift it out of the way. So this would sit here instead, and it just pulls it out of the way. So it just sits directly underneath of it instead. So it pulls it directly out of the way. It's not that space, it's just right underneath the epiglottis and just pulls it out of the way. So that's the difference in where those are placed. So you have to think about that when you look into the airway. If you see the epiglottis, the MAC blade goes right above it. If you have the Miller blade, you're gonna go underneath it and lift it out. So, if I do this way, I can. And you will not be able to see the vocal cords if you don't move the epiglottis out of the way. So where's my tube? Here's my tube. So ideally, you're gonna have somebody that's gonna hand this to you. They'll have it waiting. Once you visualize the vocal cords, do not take your eyes off them. I'm doing it just because I'm showing you. But so I've got my blade in. I lift. See, I'm lifting more the tip of it up. I can see my vocal cords. I'm gonna put the tube in. I'm not stopping to look. Once the cuff passes the vocal cords, you stop. That's the marker. Once the cuff passes the vocal cords, stop. Take the laryngoscope out. Hold it wherever it is. You're gonna say, look at where the tube is at the teeth or the gum line. The tube is at 21 at the teeth. You're going to inflate your cuff. See why it's nice to have that just sticking on there. Remove the stylet. Put the end title on. Drag your patient. Ta-da. I know, I make it look so easy.
Now should somebody be making sure that you...
Yeah, I'm gonna get that in just a second. So you notice what I did not do is I did not let go of the tube. I did all of that with one hand. So you guys have to get pretty good with your hands. You have to be able to do many things. There's usually people around, but you don't know what's going on. So it might have been that somebody had to step to the side to do something else, and you're gonna need to put air in the cuff and do all those things. The other thing you have to be able to do with one hand is put your stethoscope on. Which this is not mine, so I'm not putting it in my ears, but I'll show you that. They just go like this. Put one here, switch it to the other side. You also could put it like this, put one in and then the other one in, because then I can listen. If I'm holding the tube and I can't let go, it's not secured yet, so you need to be able to listen. So you need to be able to, I had a student was like, we put the ET tube in and I'm holding it and nobody's listening to breath sounds. I said, so what'd you do? She goes, I put my stethoscope on with one hand and I listened. I said, that's what you're supposed to do. So these are things that you'll get over time, but do not let go of the tube. And if you let go of the tube while you're checking off, you have to start over again. what you will find is some patients are either still slightly awake or they wake up, and what are you going to do if you wake up and you didn't know what was going on and you got a tube in your throat? You're going to go to rip it out. And trust me, they can rip it out. So let's just go through that process one more time. So we put the blade in. We're going to lift this way, more towards lifting the tip of the blade just to get the epiglottis out of the way. Once you visualize the cords, you might need to suction again, whatever. You're gonna ask for the tube. You're not gonna stop looking at the cords. You're gonna say, tube please, put the tube in. You're going to stop when the cuff goes past the vocal cords. As soon as the cuff passes through the vocal cords, stop. Then you're going to take the laryngoscope out. You're gonna look at where the tube is at the teeth. You're gonna tell the room the tube is at 21 at the teeth. You're going to take the stylet out. You're going to put air in the cuff, end tidal CO2 on, start bagging. Okay? Then what are we going to do? We're going to listen for bilateral breath sounds. We're going to look for bilateral chest rise. We're going to listen for air over the stomach. We don't want to hear any. We're going to look for condensation in our tube. We're going to look for color change. 5 things. And then you'll order a chest x-ray. And then you'll secure the tube. You don't secure the tube until you verify your placement. Okay? Because if you do all that and it's in the esophagus, now you gotta untie it all and now your patient's dying because they have no oxygen and you're bagging their stomach. So then you can secure your airway. Be very careful to not put the tube in too far. Most common place it goes is the right main stem. We'll talk about that when we talk about airway problems, but that's why as soon as the cuff goes past the vocal cords, you should stop. Because if you go further than that, it's going right to the right side, and the left side is not going to be ventilated. You should be able to tell that if, number one, so let's talk about where most tubes end up is between 21 and 24. Depending on the height of the patient. Obviously a taller person will have it in more 23, 24. A shorter person would have it in more 21, 22. 28, that would be amazing. 7 foot tall. 28, likely good chance that's in the right men's stem. Make sure you listen to both sides. Do you see a chest excursion? If not, pull it back. If it's in at 18, not in far enough. So then you're gonna, very good chance it's just gonna slip right out. Yes.
Can you restate that again?
Yeah.
For the tall versus short person, where would
yeah, I said generally, if you have a taller person, it's going to be maybe 23, 24 at the teeth, where a shorter person would be 21, 22. Some of it depends too on their torso. If they have a very long torso, no matter how tall they are, they're going to need it in further. Yes.
Do you deflate the cuff as you're adjusting? If you're...
Oh yeah, if you need to move it, you should deflate the cuff and move it, and then inflate the cuff again. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Anybody else?
Whenever you're moving the tube though, before you deflate the cup, you always want to really suction out
Thank
your
you.
mouth.
Suction.
There's going to be secretions on top of that. If you deflate the cup, those secretions are going straight into their lungs.
Makes sense.
And that's what gives people that. So we're intubated, we verified placement, we called for our chest x-ray. One thing, the other thing is that's being used a lot of places, which we don't have one here, is video. Huh? Yeah, there's the glidoscope. There's also something called the McGrath. So the glidoscope is the TV screen, and this one is the McGrath. It has the screen on the actual laryngoscope itself. That's video laryngoscopy, or any version of that word. It's because you're actually seeing it on a screen. So the gyroscope is like a little portable, kind of reminds me of those little portable blood pressure cuffs that they have on the carts. If you haven't seen them, you will. It's just a little TV screen on a cart, maybe like a tablet size. And it has a special laryngoscope and blade, and there's a camera at the end of it. So when they put, sorry, buddy. When they put this in, they'll be able to see the airway on the screen. So those patients, when they get intubated, you're not looking in here, you're looking there. So the whole idea then is you do this, get it ready, and you're looking at the screen and you're putting the tube in and you're watching it go into the vocal cords. The McGrath one, the screen is right here on the end of the laryngoscope. So that's another way to do it. This is the gold standard #1 way to verify placement. It's the absolute.
So the McGrath is?
Either one, the video.
Oh, okay.
The gyroscope, it's by doing it by video. It's not breath sounds, it's not direct colorimetry, it's seeing it that way. So if you see a test question or on your boards and it says what is the gold standard or the absolute way to confirm endotracheal tube placement, it's that. Because that you're actually, people say, oh, I saw it go through the vocal cords with your eyeballs. Well, some people think they see it go through the vocal cords and it doesn't. Because when you got all that anatomy and secretions and stuff going on, you might think it's there and it's not. So visualing it with your eyeballs this way is not the gold standard. It's visualing it that way on a screen where you're actually seeing it go. And you guys will see those at your clinic. They're everywhere now. The gyroscope especially in the ERs. Like sometimes they'll call the ER doctor up to bring a gyroscope at a smaller facility. I think the larger hospitals probably have a number of them and they're used routinely. Okay, take a quick restroom break if you need to. I need to get a drink of water, go to the bathroom.